Some good news in Star Wars land today. Good timing, too. May the 4th be with us, or Revenge of the 5th, right? So, here we go. Revenge of the 5th day. Taika Waititi, has been hired on to direct and co-write the next Star Wars theatrical release. There had been a lot of talk about whether or not they would do another theatrical release for Star Wars, if Rise of Skywalker might have killed it. Now, that did kill Skywalker part of it, which probably mercifully so. Rise of Skywalker, a lot of people have problems with it. I understand why. I thought it was a fun movie, but is it up there with the original trilogy? No. And you can't redo the original trilogy. You really can't. So while I liked all three movies, they aren't a trilogy, and the movies were not a trilogy. Now, Taika is really a visionary. Now, he's done work on Thor Ragnarok, which was a fantastic movie, and Jojo Rabbit, and I want to discuss that a little bit. So Jojo Rabbit, if you haven't seen it, watch it. It's absolutely fantastic. It's only PG rated, but there's some subject matter in it that little kids, it might be a little bit sensitive for some little kids. So, it's again, I'm talking like 5-6 years of age. Like our youngest, we'd be kind of nervous about her watching it. There are a couple of scenes that we think would probably really upset her. But it is a story of a kid whose imaginary friend is Hitler. And the first thought I had was, if we get a Star Wars movie where somebody has Palpatine as an imaginary friend, it could be the greatest movie in the history of movies. It won't happen, but it could be the greatest movie in the history. Just think about it. Palpatine, for anybody who's seen Jojo Rabbit, now make it Palpatine, and it's on Endor or Tatooine or wherever. Could be the greatest movie ever. And he could be a wannabe stormtrooper. Stormtroopers are picking on him. He's at the academy. He can't get through. And there's the Emperor trying to, hey, no, you can totally do this, and you're great. And then it devolves as the movie goes along. Now, he also directed the season finale of Mandalorian, which was absolutely fantastic. And he voiced IG-11 in the early on episode, the first episode. So, which was fantastic. Self-destruct. All right, well, this isn't going on. Time to blow myself up. Okay, can you just knock it off, IG-11? Absolutely great. And, and of course, he comes back later on in the season as well. I really, really like this move. I think this is a great move. The funny thing is, I didn't mind J.J. Abrams being in the new trilogy either. The mistake they made was going back to him in episode 9, not because he was the wrong guy, but because they got away from him in episode 8. And I've talked about this before. The biggest thing that a Star Wars anthology would need, a Star Wars trilogy, anything, is a singular vision. You look at season 1 of The Mandalorian and how it works, it's a singular vision. It is Jon Favreau in control of this. Jon Favreau thinking seasons ahead and how am I going to do this? And we quickly went from a series where we were like, hey, where's Boba Fett? Is Boba Fett going to show up? To it being, who cares if Boba Fett shows up? This is fantastic. So we got Baby Yoda. We're good. So I do like this. I think this is going to be a really good pickup. The funny thing is, there's been speculation for a while, and he's been trolling people with, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing Star Wars, while he was still in conversation with Lucasfilm. And now, here he is. And he's co-writing it with Christy Wilson Cares. She worked on 1917 and Last Night in Soho. I like it when Star Wars brings in serious directors, serious writers. Of course, Rian Johnson, serious director as well. And I agree with criticism that I've seen online that Johnson didn't really respect the source material, there was so much of Last Jedi that seemed to be geared towards, okay, we're going to blow the whole universe up and restart, that it was kind of off-putting. And that's an issue when you have an off-putting series and you've got a built-in fan base for Star Wars that absolutely loves it. So the one thing I'm wondering is, is this going to be a standalone, or will this be the start of a trilogy? Now, is this going to be a standalone in the idea that you have a standalone movie that might become a trilogy? Or is this here's a one-off, or maybe he himself said, look, I'm just doing one I just have an interest in one. Is this something that he had in mind, or is this something that Lucasfilm had in mind and it's a project they're looking for somebody to pick up? I do like how secretive the whole thing is. I think it's great. And does Palpatine play some kind of a role in it? Look, we saw the Emperor come back in Rise of Skywalker, and it was clunky. It was absolutely clunky, the way that it was handled. You could do a movie about the in-between Jedi and Rise of Skywalker to sort of make it make sense, the clone idea and how all that works, and I would trust him to do it. And you could have, why are there Sith watching? Why is there a crowd? You could have some of this start to make sense. If you gave it to him and you said, hey, see this Rise of Skywalker? None of this makes any sense. Can you make it make sense? Kid has Hitler as his imaginary friend, and it's a fantastic movie that's good for the whole family. Almost the whole family, like I said. Yeah, if anybody can pull it off, I would think it would be him. He is, I think, 45 years of age, so he's around the same age as I am. So that's good as well, because he would have grown up with the originals. And I think it's important. See, the thing with Star Wars is you can't recreate the original trilogy, but it should feel like the original trilogy. One thing where the Mandalorian has it in spades is it feels like Star Wars. And it's something that the new Star Trek series, they can't get that right either. Star Trek Discovery, Star Trek Picard, they don't feel like Star Trek. They have the characters, they have some of the backstory, but it doesn't really feel like Star Trek. It just feels like, here's our latest action, blow them up. And we threw in some swearing too, because why not? One of the things that made Star Trek fantastic in the original trilogy, the original movies, and the Next Generation and the original series was there wasn't a bunch of swearing in it, and that was gone, and society was more civilized. And now in the new series we're seeing, whether it's Discovery or it's Picard, it just feels like it's current modern day type ideas with laser guns and spaceships. And when you see all this infighting and all the swearing and all the blood and guts, and it's like, why are you doing this? And that's my reaction to it, is why are they doing it like this? Why are they taking the source material that everybody loves and pulling it away? And this is something I think Star Wars did on some level with Last Jedi. So you get this Star Wars name, you get the Star Trek name. That's an automatic built-in, everybody's going to want to watch it. It's like, oh, hey, I recognize that title. You've got that. But then you take a plot line that doesn't fit the original idea. You take a plot line that doesn't fit with what people who grew up beloving that, what they're going to look for in a new series. So you're taking it and you're saying, all right, here's this great thing that you love. What I'm going to do is I'm going to buy it. I'm going to take it over. I'm going to hand it off to a director. That director may never have actually seen the original series. You know what? We actually prefer to get a director who's never seen the original series because we want fresh eyeballs on this and somebody who has a whole different idea of how this should work. That's stupid. And I'm being serious. I think that's ridiculous. I think that what's been going on in Hollywood lately, which is, okay, we're just going to buy the property and we're gonna make a brand new movie with the name on it, but we're gonna make it we're gonna re-envision the entire thing. No. We're not talking shot-for-shot remake. Not like, when you got Vince Vaughn in Psycho and none of it works because it's a shot-for-shot remake and Vince Vaughn as Norman Bates. I love Vince Vaughn, but it doesn't work. I'm just saying, if you're going to make new Star Wars movies, they should feel like Star Wars. You're going to make new Star Trek series, they should feel like Star Trek. I know Star Trek Beyond, which I absolutely loved, and yet it didn't do great in theaters. Part of the reason it didn't do great in the theaters was Into Darkness. Into Darkness put people off. Here was Khan. If you don't name Benedict Cumberbatch's character Khan, if he was somebody else, Joe Schmo from Mars, and you make it just a brand new story about somebody we don't know anything about and we don't know what he might do or might not do, you have a much better movie. Star Trek Into Darkness falls off the rails because, oh, he's Khan now. And it's like, oh, it's another British actor pretending he's Khan. Why can't they find somebody from India to be Khan? Because seriously, Khan Noonien Singh, right? So the whole thing is weird. And then he's got super blood now. And why does he have super? He never had super blood in the original. I don't understand. Why did you guys have to take... So they take all this familiar stuff and they shoehorn all this other crap in there that doesn't make any sense. Which, if they just made it so it wasn't canon, it wouldn't have mattered. In Last Jedi, everything kind of falls apart for a Star Wars fan because there's stuff going on in it that doesn't feel like Star Wars. And it's kind of like, okay, so that's why Canto Bite, I just skip all that when I watch Last Jedi now. Because none of that feels like Star Wars stuff. It all feels like it's just a diversion to take you away from the main storyline to make the movie longer and make it so it's this big cinematic thing. And that's a problem. And so what I like about what they're doing right now is clearly they've heard fans and they're trying to make things work like the Mandalorian did. And hopefully at some point they get Star Trek to work again. Because, again, this new universe that they're creating for Star Trek, this bold new universe where everybody swears and there's blood and guts in it, nobody in Star Trek fandom back in the 80s wanted that. Nobody back in Star Trek fandom was like, hey, you know, it'd be great if these guys were just cursing and swearing all the time. That's why it's funny when you have them go back to the 1980s in Voyage Home, and Spock is throwing out random swear words that don't make any sense because he's trying to fit in. And it works. And it's a storyline that now, that makes no sense. That's in an alternate universe. Apparently now we're in a universe where they don't stop. It doesn't make... anyways, it's just... I really hope that they get Star Wars right. It would be nice to see them get Star Wars right from here on out. There's a lot of money riding on this for Disney. Disney needs to make Star Wars work. And The Mandalorian shows them Disney can absolutely work with Star Wars. And when you look at Disneyland and Disney World and the huge epic areas they've created for Star Wars, which are absolutely fantastic, having been there, and hopefully at some point I can go there again, there's something to be said for sticking true to the source material. And that's why those areas of Disneyland and Disney World work so well. Because you walk in there and you're like, I'm in Star Wars. This is great. I feel like I'm on the set of a Star Wars movie. This feels like Star Wars. And there aren't people running around cursing and swearing and threatening to cut your head off. I didn't see a single Canto Bite mention in there. Maybe there was that I didn't see. But it felt like Star Wars. It felt like the source material. If he can make a Star Wars movie that feels like it fits in, like Rogue One fit in. Rogue One really sort of did fit in, and there are parts of Rogue One that may be a bit problematic. And I agree with some of it, but, you know, like Tarkin's CGI face doesn't quite work. But, you know, they did as well as they could. And I thought that Rogue One was actually a pretty well-crafted Star Wars movie that you can put into that Star Wars universe. You could watch Revenge of the Sith and then watch Rogue One and then watch the original Star Wars movie, and that works. I don't know if the new trilogy really works when you watch them all back to back to back. Because what happens in Rise of Skywalker kind of takes the feeling out of Return of the Jedi where you see the death of Palpatine, and then he's just there in Rise of Skywalker. So hopefully he does well, and we see... I want to see Palpatine as the imaginary friend for a young kid that wants to be a stormtrooper. That would be my dream. Or maybe Palpatine and Vader just hanging out with a little kid, just the the ghosts of Palpatine and Vader, just hanging out with him, just giving him some advice. Maybe Anakin's ghost shows up every now and then, and Vader's like, "Oh, wait, you little whiner, you made me look bad." You could have like some kind of back and forth between Hayden Christensen and James Earl Jones. I'm telling, and it only works with him directing it. But, anyways, and then it turns into a Robot Chicken sketch, right? Anyways, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below regarding this news, because again, it is Star Wars time of year. And we're all looking forward to someday being able to go back to movie theaters and watch movies and be around people and have public gatherings again. And someday it'll happen. I'm looking forward to it. And hey, thank you guys so much for all your support throughout everything we're going on out here over the last 7+ weeks now for me. And don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happen upon this video. This channel's creeping up on 13,000 subscribers. So thanks to each and every one of you that have done that, hitting the like and subscribe buttons. And I will talk to you guys again soon.